Welcome to It's Not All Black and White.
I'm Cera, I'm black.
I'm Matthew, I'm white. And this is the Interracial Couple Podcast. Welcome, where today we're going to be really kind of going into talking about stress. It's something that, we had a grand plan for what we wanted to talk about today. But the last couple of days have been stressful. And
Wait, they have been?
They haven't been? Have you not been stressed at all?
No,
you've been fine?
What is stress?
Yeah, I have no idea. It's really just a mental construct that if we just say stress doesn't exist, it stops existing and it magically disappears.
I know, that's what I should have done last night when I had insomnia.
Oh, all right. So there we go. Yeah, and the last couple of days, there's been a lot going on, and I think first of all, we're both self-employed. We both work from home. We're both starting a business. We're both starting businesses, different enterprises. So there's a lot going on, and when things don't go smoothly, or when you have one thing after another, right? I mean, we've had over the last couple of weeks shipments going out to the U.S. Launching your new website, and I've just been finishing a new e-course that I'm getting ready to launch. So there's a lot of things going on. Getting up early, late nights. We've got people around, people working for us. We're doing this. So there's just a lot going on. And dealing with stress is something that just, in some ways, it's just a fact of living in the modern world. There's just so many things going on. When I think of all the stuff that we can do, and I thought about this a while ago, that the amount of things that I assume that I can get done in a day, like 20 years ago, nobody would have thought you would even attempt to get that much done in a week sometimes, right? You'd be picking up the phone, you'd be having conversations, you'd be writing letters, you'd be going to the post office to mail it. There's so many things that we can now do on the computer, smartphones, everything, that it's this pressure to constantly do more. And it's pretty hard to get out of it because that's the work world we live in, that's the business world we're in, that's the entertainment world we're in. Everything just moves so fast. We've been challenged with some of that stress the last few days, but it certainly comes in its ebbs and flows, and has over all of our lives, and in the over 3 years we've been together.
Yeah, in some ways there's a time I used to think like you get stress comes like one time and it's gone, and you deal with it and you have strategies, and then like it's gone. In my 20s I would believe that, but now it kind of feels like this year has just been like one challenge after the other, and it's just been like really tired. Like last night I had insomnia, and I technically used to be stressed and I would go to sleep, so I would sleep more. But that has changed. Like I'm stressed and I do not sleep. Like I just can't go to bed. And yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty right now in our lives, in what to do. We are moving. I just kind of feel like there's just so much going on, and every day is there's something new. I have to learn something new. And I think one of the things I realized yesterday when I couldn't go to sleep was I'm trying to figure out SEO, and and then what I think if I'm going to figure this out, I need to take a class. So I go on YouTube at 11 o'clock and I'm learning about SEO, and it's just it's 2 in the afternoon after watching all these videos.
2 in the afternoon?
Oh, 2 in the morning. And I've been watching these videos for a couple hours, and I just realized wait, I don't even know what the step to take, And it just feels I'm loaded in information. And that to me, I think today is what's causing me more stress. And then I'm reach out to a friend and they tell me more information,
They say now, oh yeah, I know exactly what to do. Do all of these more things that you weren't doing, or that you've been thinking, oh, I should learn more about this. And it's as though every time you try and figure out the next step or what needs to be done, it's this, every time it's a can of worms of, SEO is not something people just pick up and do. There are people who make, 6-figure incomes doing SEO very well. How do you figure that out in YouTube videos at 11 o'clock at night? And you can even talk about, right? I mean, what made you think of SEO? Where did that come from yesterday?
where did it come from?
Yeah.
It's like, I need to do it. Like I'm
No, but
looking.
you went online to see what am I ranking for.
Oh
And
yeah.
you're ranking for absolutely nothing on your website that you've been building and these products and creating a brand for and all this, and social media. And we actually do have a social media intern who's been posting every day on social media and then, and building a Shopify site and taking pictures and doing all this stuff. And you look and say, oh, am I ranking for anything? And the website might as well not even exist.
Yeah, literally I was ranking for 0 keywords, and at that moment is like when my stress level went like it shot. Like I was like, I need to be able to do this myself. I can't afford to hire someone because the people who know what they're doing cost a lot of money, which I'm bootstrapping at the moment. And from that moment when I saw, I was like, okay, so my strategy is like, I gotta figure this out. And I gonna learn. If I don't know something, then I need to educate myself. So how do I educate myself? Then I go on YouTube and I watch these endless videos, and then I can't even do SEO for very long because this week we need to go into production. Then something else like comes along and I just kind of feel like things are just added onto my plate. And at this moment, I feel like I'm complaining. It's like, now it's gone to that place of like, now it's no longer stress, now it's complaining. Like I'm just like, oh, all these things that I have to do. But actually like all these things that I have to do is like, it's really stressful. It's like all these things that I have to do and I actually don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
Is where my stress is coming from at the moment.
So yesterday too, like at one point you snapped because there's all these things that are going on. And then 2 people needed something from you, right? You had your social media person who needed hashtags and keywords from you. And then you also had a graphic designer who needed images from you. And both were waiting at the same time, right?
I know. And I just feel like, wait.
And then I say, you're working on one. And I know that the designer's here. And I say, oh, he needs this stuff. And you just exploded.
I know,
a mini explosion, I'll give you that.
It was a mini explosion, and I called myself because I just knew it's like, I'm just being asked for too much. I just don't, it's like all these little things like I have to do during the day and like making sure that other people get to do their work, Right. It just kind of feels like starting a new business is like, people make it sound rosy, but it's like, it's really difficult. I don't even have kids. I don't know how people who have kids do it, you know, and like how that is affecting their relationships. I'm in this moment, I'm just like, this is a lot of work. This is like too much. And it's not like I don't work. I work 14 hours. Like it feels like I work from 9 to 9 most nights. And it just seems like I do. Like I look at the end of the day and I'm like, wait, what did I do today?
Right. And then you get far enough along and you say, wait, you have 7 days in a row like that. And you look back and say, wait, what did I even do? And then that induces stress. And I'm wondering, how much of that is, well, let's go back. So for you, this was a dream of yours about, obviously for a long time, but after we'd been together for just a few months, that was one of the things that you kind of came to me. And I remember early on, you were a little bit nervous and you said, I've been trying to bring this up for a few weeks and I just don't know how to do it. Would you consider moving to Kenya with me when I'm done at UCLA? And that was because that for you was really important. It was coming here to be able to start this enterprise. And so there's a lot of weight and you were saving up in order to do it. And here we are, we're well over a year into being here. And trying to get this business going, and things never go as smoothly as you think that they should go, or you want them to go. And it's not only one thing. It's not like, okay, there are the bags and the wallets, but let's go to the wallets. In order to get wallets, we've got to get the leather first, and the leather has never been done on time. Even right now, the goat leather that we were supposed to get over a week ago was promised over a week ago.
Over a week ago, 3 weeks ago, like when we first went there. Yeah, it's been.
Well, the first one was delayed so much. We said, be really realistic with us. We'd rather that you be really realistic so that we don't have to make plans and have those canceled. He said, okay, so really Monday a week ago, right? So it was over a week. And no, it was Saturday, but Monday at the very latest. Okay, right? And then I'm coming on Wednesday to bring it. And then you can come on Friday, and then I'll bring it on Saturday. And then Saturday, no response to anything. And now it's, give me another couple of days and this type of thing, right? And now we've got craftspeople in Kisumu who are waiting for leather, but we're also been waiting for dyed leather from someone else. But in order for them to dye the leather, they have to go to the fish fillet factories and find the good fish skins, and all these things just kind of push and push and push, and everything always goes later than and once those things get pushed, then everything else, there's always this domino effect, and then of course there's a million things that need to be done all at once. And I think it's sometimes it's that there's like so many things to be done all at once, and it's just impossible.
I know. And then sometimes I'm really good at it. But last night when I realized, oh my God, I need to learn about SEO. And then I remembered the leather hasn't arrived. It was 10 o'clock. And I'm like, text the guy, what happened to the leather? Because I had forgotten during the day. And then I think the other stress too is since everything is taking so long, I've been bootstrapping this business, and I saved up enough money to leave for a certain amount where I thought by this time we're going to be getting orders. But right now it's I don't have a business and I'm almost out of money, so, and everything has cost way more than I thought it was going to cost, in my head, the business was so rosy when I was asking you to move to Kenya to do this social enterprise. It was everything was going to work perfect. I knew there were going to be bumps here and there, but by now I really thought I was going to have a thriving business,
Yeah. And the reality is that being here, we moved into this place and really started our daily work in an office, our home office here 13 months ago. And just a few days ago, the products arrived in America finally.
Yeah, it's taken that much time to, and I just thought it's gonna take 3 months. I don't know. My planning, that I just had this fallacy, and the planning was just the planning in my head is not what happens in real life.
But I think one of the things is that everybody deals with stress, and our situation is A, not unique in the stress, and B, in some ways fairly mild, right? I mean, we end up, we're, today workday starts at 9:30, but last night for me it ended at 10 o'clock at night, and for you it ended at 2 o'clock in the morning. So that's, and we don't have every day like that. There are a lot of days where we work a normal 8-hour day, usually a little bit more than 8 hours, something, 9 to 10. But, and it comes in waves. I think the stress is normal. I think one of the things that I'm curious about, or one of the things that has been fascinating for me in the last 3 years and how we're dealing with stress is actually how we deal with stress. And not, and as in a relationship, one of the things is, okay, how do I deal with my own stress so that I don't burden you with my crap? Okay, I'm having a bad day. It can be really easy just to come and just kind of dump on you, right?
And especially since we share an office, I feel when something comes up, it's just it's so easy for me to share what's happening in the moment, which doesn't really help. If I'm sharing what's happening in the moment, I'm just putting my stress onto you, I'm just dumping.
Yeah, but I think that and okay, so there are these two things. There's the times when you're stressed, and when you're stressed and you're not handling it well. My guess is in most relationships, at least everyone I've ever been in, when I have stress and I can't handle it, I kind of crap on my partner. And you certainly do the same thing. When you're having a stressful time, I become the sort of the punching bag.
Yes and no. Yes, you become the punching bag, but sometimes you also become the outlet. So the person.
What's the difference? What do you mean?
So sometimes I feel when you become the punching bag is I am so stressed that I'm, sometimes I can be mean, or I don't, I'm just not very kind in that moment to you. And sometimes it's you're the person who I'm coming to when I'm crying. you know. So I think like it goes both ways.
Right. And so sometimes it's not an explosion of anger or a punching bag. Sometimes there can be, I can, I can diffuse it as well sometimes, right? And it certainly goes the other way. But I think the thing is that when you're stressed and you come at me, and it's like, wait, that's not warranted, right? I didn't do anything wrong. You're stressed out about your own thing, or you're stressed about something and you snap. And sometimes that snap, like yesterday, was, oh, so Shama needs something from you, and that was for you. You heard this as a judgment and all this other stuff that it really wasn't, but that's normal, right? That's normal. But I think what is taking me way longer than I wish it had taken me is to understand that it has nothing to do with me when that happens, I mean, I can, and I do, I'll examine, like, wait, was my tone of voice off? Could I have done that a little bit better? Okay, maybe, but that's not really me, that's you. But what I really need to be careful of is that then I don't take that personally, because it's not personal at all.
Yeah, like yesterday was not personal at all. And if you had taken it personal, I think like that, taking it personal would have escalated.
Totally.
But because you didn't take it personal, so once like I was like, wait, I looked at it and I was just like, I actually apologized, and I was like, you know what, I just feel like there's so much on my plate. So when you ask me when I'm trying to get someone something, I just feel like I'm not doing enough,
right. I just wanted to clarify. I did take it a little bit personally.
You did.
Right? But so for me then at that point I was like, okay, I've taken it personally. This hurts my feelings. And I had to say, wait, and I think I might have even just apologized. And
I think you didn't apologize. What you did was just you looked at me and you kept walking.
Oh, okay. Because it did hurt, right? You snapped, and I didn't mean anything negative by it. I don't think my tone of voice was negative, but you're in a stressful situation. There's no way that when you're already in a moment of self-doubt anyway, and you have so many things that you have to do and you're behind, and I'm another voice saying, there's one other thing that you have to do. Like, there's no way that that's going into your brain without going through the filter of your own frustration with yourself. And then it sounds to you like I'm frustrated with you when I'm not. But for me, then at that point, it had to be, you know what, that hurts because I didn't mean anything by it. We're just, we work together. We have a joint interest in things going well. So for me, it was a matter of just saying, you know what, that hurts my feelings. It's also not personal, as much as what I said to you was not personal. Your reaction and your snapping was just not personal. It was about you. And I had to remember that in the moment, even when I'm also dealing with stress.
Thank you for doing that, because I think yesterday would have turned out to be like, it didn't become a fight between the two of us. So when I was having my insomnia, it was all about like my work, and not like, sometimes it goes from my work to our relationship. When you take it personal, then I have to deal with that in moments of stress.
Yeah, and you don't have time for that. You've got other things going on. It's like, now you have to worry about my feelings that you hurt, but so what? Like, you actually have more important things to do than dealing with my fragile feelings.
Yeah, so thank you for that strategy and not taking things personal. And I think like, for me, like when you're stressed, like I remember like when we came back from that trip that you were doing, and we came home and you were just like, what am I doing with my life for like 3 days, you know? So I feel like you are really good at dealing with like everyday stress, like stuff that comes up. Like I used to think like you're not good at it, but like, I think you're becoming better than I am, like dealing with everyday stuff. But I haven't, like, for the 3 years that we have been together, I think I show like, I'll be like, today is a Netflix and like a day of reflection, stress moment. But you don't go there. Like, I feel like very few moments where I've seen you down for days. But like this year, I've seen that. And it's like for me, in to be honest, it's like, I'm scared, because...
You're worried I'm not off myself or something. Oh my God, he's depressed for 3 days. Thank God handguns are illegal in Kenya.
But yeah, I just feel like it's something that when those 3 years of like knowing you, it's like, it's not who I associate. Like, it's not what I see. And like, when you go there, like, I have to be honest, like, rather than being there for you, you know, it's like I get scared and I'm trying to like do all these things to make you feel better. And like, but I know deep down, like, there's nothing I'm gonna do to make you feel better.
Right.
You know, it's just, you have to go through this.
But there are different things you do. So let's go back to about 3 days ago. I was having a challenging day, and I don't know exactly where it came from. Just had a little bit of a, like, I can't go cook another meal. I can't, there are these, you know, I need to be taken care of a little bit, particularly in the food department. Why was that where I was putting my overwhelm? I don't know. But I did, and I was feeling totally overwhelmed by that. And I think there were a few other things. And I remember you argued with me for a few minutes about it. We had a little argument. But one of the things that was really nice was that you did not decide that I'm going to be proud. I was like, oh, right. I was like, I can't cook anymore, and I just really need you to like touch me and hold me like more. I just need you to come and like touch me and hold me more. And you were defensive about it, and then it was over. But rather than being proud, like, you actually, like, the next couple of meals, you went and you cooked, you made sure I had coffee, you were extra cuddly towards me, even though I snapped at you about it. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And that to me, I think in a less mature time in my life, and certainly in a less mature relationship, that would have been like, you or I would have been like, okay, well, you know, I'm gonna dig my heels in. I'm definitely not going to capitulate. If you say you're not going to cook and you need more from me, but I feel like I'm giving enough, well, screw you. That's your problem. In fact, I'm now going to do less just to prove my point and just to say you should be grateful for what you got. But you didn't do that. And by the middle of the next day, I had to say, like, you know, thank you for like listening. Thank you for bringing that support. It's not that I was right. It's also not that I was wrong. It doesn't even matter right or wrong at that moment.
I know,
it was like I had a need.
The reason why I was being so defensive is like, wait, how many times do you cook? You know, it's like
well, less lately, but we do have an engineer here and camera person who's filming us, and I think he would also know that when it comes to cooking, if Irene's not here, I do more of the cooking. He's nodding. You do. So I do less than I normally would because we have somebody here who cooks for us 3 days a week, and that only leaves 4 days a week.
Which I cook probably two of those days.
I like how you're trying to like slide that one in, like, maybe, if I say probably, maybe. Yeah. Not that you cook for 2 of those days, but that you might cook on 2 of those days.
Okay, fine.
But that's not what it became about. It actually just became about, I was having a little moment where just the idea of thinking about what ingredients I was going to put together because of the other stuff just felt like too much for me, and I couldn't do it. The funny thing was then we ended up eating like leftovers the next 2 nights from the freezer. There were leftovers that I had cooked. But you did warm them up, and I didn't have to think about it. I was like, you're in charge of that for the next few days, and you did. You warmed up, and you're like, look, I made dinner. And I was like, but that was all I needed, you know? And it was just an acknowledgement, even though you very begrudgingly, you didn't actually verbally acknowledge it, but with your actions, you acknowledged it. Really, for the next 2 days, I didn't go into the kitchen. Maybe once, but it was the weekend and I didn't. And when I was like sitting on the couch, I mean, you came and you actually just made an effort to just like to touch me or to cuddle me. It was that acknowledgement, because it didn't matter who was right or wrong.
You're making me feel so much better about myself.
You're
how I dealt with it.
Yeah, I like you. I think I'm going to keep you. I mean, you know, given the alternatives at this point, anyways. Anyway, yeah.
I was gonna cuss you. I remembered kids might be watching this. Yeah. So
yeah, and anyway, but I think that the stress in our lives is not something that I don't see it necessarily going away.
No, it's not.
or certainly not the things that bring us into stress, but it's how we deal with it. And I kind of loved this, and thinking about when we're thinking about this today, was that so often I want to take responsibility for my own stress. Like, you know what, this is my responsibility. It absolutely is. And we both have a meditative practice, and and I run almost every day, or I do some exercise every day. And yet it still comes and it impacts me. And I'd like to believe that I'm this guy that has total self-control, and that I can, stressful things can happen and it doesn't impact me. I've seen that as much as I would like that to be the case, it's just not.
I know, and I think I'm gonna add to that is like, when you think about all the strategies to overcome stress, is like, we do those things. We meditate every day, we work out, we eat really healthy, we drink a lot of water. So there isn't like one more thing that I'm gonna add. It's like, let me do this, and pretty much I get like 8 hours of sleep every night, so there's like, sleep is not the issue. Mm-hmm. So there isn't like one more thing like we can add.
We could in theory do less, but we're also both in a situation where we don't have a 9-to-5 job, we don't have established businesses, and also when I'm going into production, if I'm making a movie or there's something else that's going on, like there's just no way around the long days and all the things that go into preparing for a shoot or whatever. So that's just part of my life, and I can do things to certainly mitigate that, and I know you can too. But the switching it around, since we are partners, the saying, you know what, I want to be responsible for actually how I act when you are going into stress, so that I don't react to you and vice versa. And that's something that I haven't considered so much cognitively. But now that I can kind of look back and on the success of our 3 years in our relationship, I can see that is perhaps one of the great things that we've done, is when the other is in stress, we hold that space for them, and we kind of say, you know what, if they're not strong enough to deal with their stress right now, then I'm going to go ahead and take on that responsibility right now.
Yeah. I also think I think one of the things like we've done so well in our relationship is like recognizing that there isn't anything that I'm going to do that is going to save this stressful time. It's just a time where it's actually just the stress needs to be there and we need to deal with it, and then it's going to go away. I think that has been really crucial. I remember when I was doing the crowdfunding, and it was a month of it really tapped into all my insecurity. That to me was one of the most stressful time of my 30s. There was just so much wrapped into crowdfunding, the money aspect of it, the asking, the coming. I felt like the coming out with the business and now telling people, there was just so much, am I being an imposter? Who am I to think I can actually start a business? This is not a field people, you even go to this place where it's this is not a field where people who look like me, go into, we are not founders. And then I even went online to confirm that and research about how many black businesses get funded. And I just remember it was a week of I'm not gonna get funding, I'm not gonna do this, I'm just confirming my bias and my insecurity. And it was really you were so amazing at just being there for me, and also being you didn't take it on, you were just
right. And that was a very good test for me, and there were a couple of days where I have to admit where I was oh my God, will we survive this, which ridiculously that pops into my mind on the rare occasion where we have a real challenge. But beyond that, it was, I'm not going to make a judgment about today. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on for you. I'm going to wait until this passes, and then we can deal with it. That way you can be stressed. I can handle these things. I'm a big boy now. I don't need to prove my point that you were being, angry or not appreciative or disrespectful or whatever. It's just a point that did not need to be proven. when you're in the middle of one of the most stressful things you've ever done. It just wasn't necessary.
Yeah.
And just kind of getting to that point and understanding that when you're going through stress, I'm going to go ahead and I'll let you go through it. I can take on a little extra. And of course, then the challenge, I'm curious what you think about this too, is what about those times when we're actually both in high stress? Because it's easy, like the other day, I was having just a little mini meltdown, and you're like, okay, I'm going to step up. And these other times where you were having your little mini meltdowns, and I was like, I'm going to step up. But then what about the times when we're both melting down a little bit?
I actually think we do better in those moments.
When we both melt down.
When we both, like, I don't remember where we, like, went into a fight.
Yeah.
I think what happens is, like, we sit down and talk about it, and you're like, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing with my life? But I feel like actually those moments where we both are in stressful moments, in this exact moment, are rare.
It's true. And we do actually do those fairly well, I think, but... I was thinking about this actually when we were with Cinema Damare, and I was doing these these master classes in this traveling film program around Kenya, and there was a couple there that were doing this together. He was from Venezuela and she was from Russia, and there were on moving days when it was going from one county to the next. People were supposed to be up at like 4:30 a.m. to be on the bus by 5 so that the bus could leave at 5:30. And on every single one, people were there on time. It was raining almost every time where people had cameras and gear. And then there was always some problem. And then people sat there hungry and wet on a cold, stinky, wet bus for 3 or 4 hours while somebody dealt with something. And I was watching these two and I thought, they're so tired and they're dealing with equipment and all this stuff. That just looked so extra miserable to me. I was like, I would rather be alone than have somebody else that I loved with me in a situation where I just felt where there could be that kind of stress.
Yeah, but I was with you.
Yeah, but we were also okay because we slept in a nice that one night was not a nice hotel. It was a crappy hotel. But we also knew what was going to happen. We showed up late and we ended up waiting an hour and a half because we told them don't call us until the bus was 10 minutes away from leaving. When somebody thought the bus was 10 minutes away from leaving, they told us to come, and then it was still
an hour.
an hour and a half. But some of those people have been up for so long. And I was just thinking, in those times where both people are stressed, in my past, I know that has never been a recipe for happiness. But yet, when it's tended to be, we've only had a couple of times where we had these moments where we're both really stressed.
I think living in a household with so many people, I think I came to learn that in every moment, one person needs more than the other. There's a time to give and there's also a time to take. So I think there are moments where we're both in so much stress, but at some moment, one person needs the hug. Mm-hmm. One person doesn't need the hug. I would see it in living with so many people. It's people don't require the same amount at the same time. So you have to know and feel it. It's a gut feeling who needs more.
And you have to be willing to let that not be you, even when you feel like you need an unlimited amount. Yeah,
right? This weekend, when you needed more, it's not I was in stress.
Mm-hmm.
This has just been a stressful, I just feel a stressful period. But on Saturday, that specific day, that specific moment, you needed me more than I needed you. Yeah. Yesterday, I needed you more than you needed me. And I think it's really, really important in relationship to understand who needs what in that specific moment.
Yeah. And then we had a few, right? I mean, there was, even on the packaging day, we both just went, kind of did our own thing and then worked in silence rather than try to, I'm going to take care of me and you take care of you, because neither of us have the bandwidth to be the one who gets a little bit more. And it's a bit of a balance, but I guess that one of the things that I just find so important is that rather than trying to even go back and analyze what happened or or fix that, or let's come to some resolution, if we were both in a stressful place or whatever, to say, what, that actually does not, if it's not actually impacting us today, if it becomes a pattern, we need to address it. But if it's not a pattern yet, and we just had a really bad day, no one needs to prove their point. I don't need to be right. You don't need to be right. We're just going to move that along.
True. And sometimes we've just been like, let's go out and get a drink.
Yeah. Oh, that is a great way to deal with stress. Let's just call it a night and
go out.
Go have a drink.
Yeah. And we've done that, and we've just gone out and had 2 drinks and come home.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I guess that's probably the moral of this story is that when life gets too stressful, go out for a drink.
Walk out. It does help, Like, do whatever you can. Like, I feel like, we're sharing, like, what has worked for us and,
And that actually, then just kind of in closing, I think that it's to deal with it without pride. And I think that for the most part, that's been something that's really special in our relationship, I think, is that the dealing with it without pride.
Yeah, and I also feel like even with my friends, like sometimes I'll call, my best friend and say like, this is like what I'm going through, and sometimes like, like you think like it's this huge thing, and like I remember like calling Dana and she was like, is it really, really important? Like,
you mean when there was something with us or just for you?
No, like for me, like with my business. And I felt like in that moment, it's like we had lost all these videos and she called in the perfect moment. And she was like, can it be redone? How is this going to affect your business? It's like a long time, like, and I was like, actually, it's not, like, so like reaching out to friends has been like another thing because I can come to you, but sometimes like I need to hear my friends and their perspective. And I came home and I was like, you know what? Dana says it's not a big deal. And literally it was not a big deal.
Of course, you also have a really nice thing with with Dana and some of the people you're really close to, and they don't pity you. They basically say, how are you going to take responsibility for this?
I know.
Which is actually great for me as being your partner, because I know you're not one of the persons who goes to like call a friend and say, like, help me pile on Matthew. Because if you do, they'll say, no. Why don't you take responsibility?
I know my friends are cool.
Yeah,
like my friends and family are like cool in that way. It's like, yeah, they will listen. And then like the question's like, what's your part in this?
Right.
You've had our strategies and like, we're just curious, like, how do you deal with stress and like how does that impact your relationship?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us and spending some time with us at our podcast. It's Not All Black and White.
I am Cera. I'm black.
I'm Matthew. I'm white. This is the Interracial Couple Podcast, and
where we live a stress-free life.
Stress-free life, yes, where nothing phases us at all. It's fantastic. Keep tuning in and the stress will just go away. And if you believe it, turns out placebo works really, really well. So if you believe that listening to our podcast will relieve your stress, there's probably about a 40 to 50% chance that it will actually do that for you. But you really have to believe it.
Okay, bye. Live a stress-free life.